Oh, hello children. It's time for story time. Today I have quite a classic children's story for you all. It is the Gorillaz 2020 Almanac. I believe it was around page 217, give or take. And are these coloring book pages? Désolé, amigos, but forget story time. I'm your favorite illustrator / colorist, and today I'm gonna dare to digitally paint some humans, plus a little tutorial for those of you who want to try coloring your traditional line work digitally. Will I feel good at the end of this, or will it just be momentary bliss? Let's rock the house and find out. Step 1 is to scan your line work, or in my case, take photos with your phone. But we run into a dilemma. Here's an example, using my lovely assistant, Jeff. With digital line work, you can just make a new layer and color under it, but if you import something with a lot of texture, such as our nasty pickle man here, that doesn't really work. If you color under this, the relative color will change, and if you go over it, you lose all of that delicious, crunchy detail. The solution? Gradient maps. We're gonna blast over here, make a gradient map with white and black, and then drag the sliders so there's as little tonal variation as possible. Fiddle with it and see what works best. You can also change your dark value to a color if you'd like colored line work. Once that's done, all you have to do is set the layer to darken, and presto, you can color under this bad boy, color pick, blend, and do all your other fun little digital art things as normal. With that said, let's start on the actual coloring process. Here you can see I'm really just trying to organize the Gorillaz in a compositionally interesting and fun way. I'm going to use the magical Alakazam method to flat the Gorillaz, which is to say, and they're done. And then with flats in, I'm actually going for a shading first approach this time. So I'm going to essentially just do a straight up render layer. I'm popping in, adding some ambient occlusion and basic shading. Just basically things that are further away have more shading. Things that are in creases or areas where the light logically wouldn't be able to hit are also going to get some shading. And I'm using basically like soft gradients in order to create like a really subtle 3D gradation from the area of dark to light. If I combine it with the selection tool, then I can get a hard edge on one side and a soft edge on the other, which is one of the easiest ways I've found to make your digital art look incredibly well-rendered, smooth, and realistic. Human beings, we love contrast. We love looking at contrast, whether it's color, texture, etc. So when you put a hard edge next to a soft edge, it sort of alerts our brains that this is an interesting area of the piece to look at. So in this case, adding shading like this is a great way to determine where you want the viewer's eye to go first. Because I didn't want to make this basic straight-on shading, I'm moving the light source a little bit to the right, meaning that I'm also going to be shading along the left side of all of the figures. Even though, logically, these are all different figures in different areas, times of day, lighting, situations, etc., this is a great way of making sure that all of the figures will look really good when put together on the page. Now that I've got my shading layers done, you can see I'm fiddling with some colors, and I'm going to go back in and pop a layer over top of my shading layer, set it to vivid light or something like that, and then start putting in my coloring tones. So I'm going to put the skin on one layer, the clothes on another, and the hair on another. You don't have to do this, but when you're doing a big page like this of a bunch of characters, I find it's way, way easier to edit everything if things are separated. So when it comes to colors and how well they play together, I usually go back in and change the tones like at least once. So it's always good to plan ahead. And you can always merge your layers down later. You can always turn multiple layers into one layer, but you can't always turn one layer into multiple layers, so I think of it as a good way to plan ahead. Since these are such fun characters and such dynamic poses, I wanted to make a really fun and unique background. I also did a faux shadow effect by duplicating the Gorillaz, painting them a solid color, and then sticking them underneath the original drawing at an angle. After that, I was looking at it, and it just didn't have the contrast I wanted, so I ended up going back and creating a whole new lighting layer, just to add a little bit more. The way I did this is I duplicated my shading layer, used the gradient map trick to lower the amount of values, and then strategically blended and erased in areas where the light would be softer versus harder. And as a result, it, I think, really closely mimics sunlight. Like, it has that sort of glare and harshness. Finally, to tie all the colors together, I popped an overlay on top with sort of a light blue shade, but I couldn't help but feel the composition was looking a little bit boring, so I decided to almost give this the appearance of a sticker sheet, right? Where there are also some background compositional elements tying the figures together. I did this with my Pokemon sticker sheets, so I thought that I would add some arrows and fun little symbols like that, so that it would like tie together all the Gorillaz and also lead your eye around the canvas in a much clearer way. Finally, with all of that done, I signed it and also changed the color of Noodle's jumpsuit because she was looking way too much like that girl from Miraculous Ladybug, and I did not want them coming after me. And here's the final piece. I think that the colors are really fun, and it's got like just a really chilled out vibe. I hope that I did these band members justice. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next week. Adios.